Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instruction on completing the task at hand. Visit my YouTube channel and watch my disclaimer video. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you find the information you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. In this video, I'm going to do the rear brake pads on this Hyundai Santa Fe. It's a 2007 model. These are the tools and equipment I use to do these rear brakes. You have your jack stand, your lug nut wrench. You got a 14mm ratchet. Use a breaker bar if you want to get the caliper loose. 10mm boxed in for bleeding the brakes. You got your C-clamp for compressing the calipers. You get your thread lock and your brake caliper pad lubricant, and then your brake pads, a glove, and a rag. A lot of times if you buy your brake pads from local auto parts store, you'll get a lifetime warranty on the pads. So if you ever want to call that warranty, you take the pads off, take them back into the store, and they'll give you a free set of pads. And then I got a wire brush for cleaning off metal rusty parts. First thing I'm going to do is open the hood and crack the lid open on the brake fluid reservoir, because when I compress the caliper, it'll probably try to force fluid back into that reservoir, and I don't want it to have pressure against the cap. Next thing I do is set the parking brake. Next thing I'm going to do is break the lug nuts loose on the vehicle while it's sitting on the ground. Break all 5 nuts loose. Don't take them loose, just break them loose. So now I'm going to come down here, find a jacking point, and jack the vehicle up so that the wheel's off the ground. Then I jack up the vehicle and I find a good place to put a jack stand, and I put a jack stand under the car. Then I lower the weight of the vehicle on the jack stand, but I keep the jack in place as a backup. Now I remove all 5 lug nuts and pull the wheel. The wheel may be stuck on, so if you pull the lug nuts and the wheel's stuck on, you may have to kick the top of it or the side of it or something to get it to pop loose. But you know, the lug nuts are already broke loose. You want to break those loose with the weight of the vehicle on the wheel, because you don't want to try to break those loose while the vehicle's in the air. Now I got the wheel off. You can see in there that the brake pad is worn, doesn't have any meat on it, and the rotor seems to be in good shape. When you run your finger across the edge of the rotor, it doesn't have a lip that it catches. So you may want to take these in and have them turn, but when they're pretty smooth like this, don't have a lot of grooves in them, I don't worry about them, I just reuse them. Next thing you want to do is take your 14mm and take that bolt loose on top and that bolt loose on the bottom. And be careful when you pull those bolts out. You don't want to let the caliper drop and hang on the brake line. You want to set the brake line on another piece of the suspension or tie it up with a string or something. Once you get the bolt out of the top and out of the bottom, you can just wiggle the caliper right off, because they're really normally not that tight. And like I said, set it up like that so that they're out of the way. And now you can just pull the brake pads out of the clips. So there you can see there was just a little bit of meat left on that brake pad. And just a little bit on this one too. Now this one didn't wear as bad as the other side. So that caliper may be sticking a little bit on that other side. Now you want to take your brake grease and put it around your shim pad and put it on your pad where the brake caliper will grab and pull it to limit the amount of squeal that you'll have on your brake squeal. So I put the grease around the borders of the metal that goes in the shim pad, and then on the back where the piston goes. And then I set the pads in place. And as you can see, the square indicator is back here on the inner pad. Okay, I got both inner and outer pad in place. Next thing I'm going to do is compress the caliper piston. Okay, I put an old pad on the caliper piston. I put the C-clamp on it, wrap the C-clamp around the caliper, and I slowly turn it in. Remember, the cap is off the brake fluid reservoir to allow the fluid to fill back up in the reservoir. Okay, I cranked it in until I felt some resistance. Before you crank it in, you want to check the boot, make sure the boot's not torn. And while you're turning it in, you want to make sure that it didn't really have any resistance. It should turn in pretty easy. Now that that's caliper is compressed, I can go ahead and set it over the brake pads. It should be in far enough to get it over the brake pads. And you want to put your brake pad grease around the piston there, and then around these fins on the caliper here to reduce brake squeal. Okay, your caliper bolt receivers, they go in and out like shock absorbers. You'll have to push them in to get the caliper in place, then line it up so you can get those bolts on, top and bottom. I would suggest putting some thread lock on these bolts and torque them down. Probably, I'd have to find the torque value, but my guess is going to be about 18 foot-pounds. And then you want to check your brake fluid and put your wheel back on. And if you want, you can bleed your brakes, which is right here. You pull this cap off, you have somebody pump the brakes 3 times, and you break this loose until you see fluid coming out with no more air, and then that's how you bleed your brakes. Then you fill your reservoir back up with brake fluid, the proper type that's in the owner's manual. Okay, I put the cap back on the reservoir. I had my helper start the vehicle, pump the brakes 3 times and hold it. Then I took that nut loose, let a little fluid out, made sure there wasn't no air bubbles in there, and then I went on ahead and closed it back off and capped it off, wiped up the fluid. Now I'm going to put the wheel back on. I'm going to set the wheel on there, snug the lugs down, and then I'm going to let the vehicle down on it and torque the wheels down. But before I do that, I'm going to brush off the dirt and rusty stuff off of this drum so that the wheel doesn't stick to it. Okay, I got the wheel on, I snugged the lug nuts down, I took the jack stand out, lowered some weight on the vehicle, then I tightened the lug nuts. Whenever you tighten the lug nuts after pulling the tire off, if it's got 5 lugs, you're supposed to tighten them in a star pattern. You hit this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. Torque them down to whatever the owner's manual tells you to. Normally it's about 70 foot-pounds. You can have somebody double check them for you, but you want to do it in a star pattern. That avoids you from warping your rotors. Okay, now I'm going to let the vehicle down, move the jack out of the way, put away my tools, and I'll let my wife test drive it to make sure the brakes are good. And here's the brake reservoir. When I started this job, the fluid level was down to this lip. Now you can see it's almost a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch above the seam of that reservoir. If you feel that this information was beneficial, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can also subscribe to my channel so that you can get notification of future videos that I post. Visit my channel. I have all types of do-it-yourself videos there. You can leave questions here and I'll try to respond to them as quick as possible. You can also visit my website at robertspinner.com. Thanks again for watching.